The Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, has officially filed an appeal challenging the recent sentencing of former Foreign Affairs Minister Joseph Malanji and former Secretary to the Treasury Fredson Yamba, arguing that the penalties imposed by the Lusaka Magistrates Court are disproportionately lenient given the gravity of the offenses. This legal maneuver signals a renewed push by the prosecution to reinforce accountability and deter high-level financial misconduct within Zambia's public institutions. The appeal, lodged before the High Court, seeks a reassessment of the sentences handed down earlier this month, which saw Malanji receive a 4-year prison term and Yamba sentenced to 3 years with hard labor. Both men were convicted on charges related to corruption, abuse of office, and possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime. According to the DPP, the trial court failed to adequately consider aggravating factors, including the scale of financial irregularities and the symbolic weight of the case in Zambia's broader anti-corruption narrative. The prosecution maintains that the sentences do not reflect the seriousness of the violations, particularly in light of the public trust placed in both officials during their tenure. Malanji, who was found guilty of acquiring luxury assets, including helicopters and a hotel, under suspicious financial circumstances, was acquitted on 1 count, despite what the DPP describes as compelling circumstantial evidence. Yamba, meanwhile, was implicated in procedural breaches that allegedly facilitated unauthorized financial transactions, undermining the integrity of Zambia's fiscal management systems. Legal analysts suggest that the appeal could set a precedent for future sentencing in corruption-related cases, especially those involving high-ranking officials. The DPP's argument hinges on the principle that lenient sentencing may inadvertently normalize elite impunity, weakening public confidence in the judiciary and the rule of law. By seeking harsher penalties, the prosecution aims to send a clear message that financial crimes committed by public servants will be met with firm judicial consequences. This case also raises questions about the effectiveness of Zambia's institutional frameworks in detecting and prosecuting complex financial crimes, particularly those involving cross-border transactions and asset concealment. Observers note that the appeal aligns with President Hakainde Hichilema's broader anti-corruption agenda, which has emphasized transparency, institutional reform, and the recovery of stolen assets. Since taking office, the administration has prioritized the strengthening of oversight mechanisms and the empowerment of investigative bodies such as the Anti-Corruption Commission and Financial Intelligence Center. The Malanji Yamba case is widely viewed as a litmus test for these reforms, with civil society groups and international partners closely monitoring the outcome of the appeal. In the public sphere, reactions to the initial sentencing were mixed. While some citizens welcomed the convictions as a step toward justice, others expressed disappointment over what they perceived as leniency, especially given the scale of the alleged financial misconduct. The appeal has reignited public discourse around judicial independence, prosecutorial discretion, and the political dimensions of high-profile corruption cases. It also underscores the need for consistent sentencing guidelines and judicial training to ensure that penalties reflect both the legal and symbolic weight of financial crimes. As the High Court prepares to hear the appeal, legal experts anticipate a rigorous examination of the trial court's reasoning, the evidentiary thresholds applied, and the broader implications for Zambia's legal landscape. The outcome could reshape prosecutorial strategy and judicial interpretation in future cases involving public officials. For now, the DPP's move signals a firm stance against institutional complacency and a commitment to elevating the standards of justice in Zambia's fight against corruption. Attorney General Mulilo Kabesha has issued a pointed warning to officials within the ruling United Party for National Development, UPND, urging them to maintain proper documentation of their assets and expenditures. His remarks, delivered in the wake of high-profile convictions involving former PF officials Fredson Yamba and Joseph Malanji, serve as a cautionary tale for those currently in power. Kabesha emphasized that political authority is inherently temporary, and those who feel untouchable today may soon find themselves facing legal scrutiny. The reference to Bomen Lusambo, a former Kabushi member of parliament sentenced for possession of unexplained wealth, underscores the cyclical nature of accountability in Zambian politics. This statement from the Attorney General is not merely rhetorical, it reflects a broader concern about the sustainability of anti-corruption efforts in Zambia. The conviction of PF-era officials signals a shift in judicial assertiveness, but it also raises questions about whether current UPND leaders are learning from these precedents or repeating the same patterns. Kabesha's advice to keep receipts is both literal and symbolic, suggesting that transparency and record-keeping are essential defenses against future investigations. It also implies that the institutions tasked with fighting corruption, the Anti-Corruption Commission and the Drug Enforcement Commission, must remain vigilant and impartial, regardless of which party holds power. The political implications of Kabesha's remarks are significant. By invoking the name of Lusambo, he draws a direct line between past and potential future prosecutions, subtly warning UPND officials that their tenure will not shield them from legal consequences. This rhetorical strategy serves to remind the public that justice must be consistent and non-selective. It also places pressure on the current administration to uphold the same standards it demanded of its predecessors. In a country where political transitions often come with shifts in prosecutorial focus, Kabesha's statement challenges the UPND to institutionalize accountability rather than personalize it. Moreover, the timing of this warning, following the sentencing of PF figures, suggests a strategic effort to preemptively address public skepticism about selective justice. It reinforces the idea that corruption is not confined to one political faction, but a systemic issue requiring structural reform. For journalists, analysts, and civil society actors, Kabesha's intervention offers a valuable lens through which to examine the durability of Zambia's anti-corruption framework. It invites scrutiny of asset declarations, procurement practices, and the independence of oversight bodies. Ultimately, the Attorney General's message is clear: today's leaders must prepare for tomorrow's audits.